Alright, hello, welcome to Eginhardt's Escapades, episode 1, where I finally learned the name of my show so I don't have to do that horrendous bit again. Today we're starting Half-Life Alyx, as you can probably see on the screen at this point. I've been extremely excited to get this started, so let's go ahead and get going. Okay, unlike the last game, I have played a game of this already. I've actually finished it. I love it, and that's why I decided to do it again, play with developers' commentary on. I figure since this is pre-recorded and everything, you can always skip ahead if you decide you don't like the developers' commentary, but honestly, this whole thing is fascinating, and I can't wait to get into it. Let's see. Starting with original game, no add-ons, correct? Chapter 1. Normal difficulty. Ink movement, not continuous movement. Based on hand orientation or head orientation. Okay. Weapon on, right? Developer's commentary. Cool. Let's do this. Oh, I'm so excited. I love this game. They've done so many things correctly. Like, in every opportunity that they had, they chose to make things just easy to use as opposed to high fidelity. Like, I'm only really a pair of hands in this. There's no arms simulated to knock into things.
My name is Gabe Newell, and
Hello,
welcome
Gabe
to
Newell.
Half-Life Alyx. To say this product was a challenge would be an understatement. It's our first Half-Life title in over 10 years, and it's our first one in virtual reality. In addition to it being a great VR experience that still felt like a Half-Life game, we wanted Half-Life Alyx to serve players who've been waiting to find out what happens after Episode 2, and at the same time, provide an on-ramp to anyone who hasn't played a Half-Life game at all. Ultimately, whether we succeeded in any of that is up to you to decide. But hopefully, this commentary mode will give you some insight into the set of problems we faced and how we chose to tackle them. To listen to a commentary node, pick up the floating hologram of a radio headset in front of you and simply put it on your head. Once you're done listening to the commentary, you can take the radio headset off or simply put on the next one. Please let me know what you think. I can be reached at gayben@valvesoftware.com. While I'm unable to reply to all the emails I receive, I do read them all, and they're a critical part of the feedback we use to evaluate our work. Thanks, and have fun.
Okay, I think I'm gonna turn off the, those subtitles real quick. Okay. But this thing, from here to there in under a second, Dr. Isaac Kleiner. I'm assuming that's like a Klein bottle, sort of Isaac Kleiner, you know, where it's like the single surface of a two-dimensional object. Like it only has one orientation, that's an outside. But teleportation isn't new nor controversial. And it isn't theoretical physics. We've been doing it for a while, you know. Oh, come here. Let me just. Yeah, like, in less good games, that would have just been a single static object that you would just like hold onto and like it would move you down or something. But like this whole thing is simulated, and each one in there is simulated too. Like, look at that. Hup, hup, hup. Well, of course, now I've just made a mess of everything, and I'm the worst. Oh, hello down there. How you doing? Oh, wasn't me. I'm not trying to throw glass at anyone. Don't you worry. Okay. Oh, I love these things. Desiccated sustenance bar, water flavor, 100 gram. Once seal is broken, consume within 9,000 days. Oh, those are important. can't lose those. Or gelatinated calorie paste, egg flavor. Within 9,000 days, I sold 800 grams of it for this one. Wow, living good, I see. And some Koga. Koga. Oh, that's acrylic, isn't it? Oh, okay. So we're somewhere in Russia. Not that I didn't know that already, I apologize. Oh, look at this. This is one of my favorite things about this game. Look at that water. Look at the way that it moves around and such. Like, that actually looks pretty decent for water, right? Like, that's pretty well physicsed in there. It's nice and bubbly as it goes up. If I shake it, it goes like that. Like, I shake it more, and it becomes all fizzy and such. Look at this. It's ridiculous. If I set it down, it'll just relax. But that's a surface texture. There's nothing actually in here, in the bottle itself. Like, there's nothing being rendered inside. It's all just a surface texture that's put on that's simulating the physics from that. It's so cool. Probably don't want to waste what little beer I have. Yeah, that's much better than the numbers. Okay, let's get this going.
As in the case of any Half-Life game, the first hour of Alyx must convey a lot of information to the player, hopefully in a natural and entertaining way. Players need to know who they are, where they are, what kind of world they're in, who the other important characters and factions are, and so on. At the same time, they need to learn how to actually play the game. How do they move? What can they interact with and how? What should they be trying to do, etc. Figuring out exactly what information we would try to convey in these first two levels
these things,
and
this
how it
whole
would be conveyed
construction
took us over 2
of
years
this
of
tower that's
playtesting.
out there.
It's tempting to try and include everything we think a player should know,
But
all
something that I
information
really
has
like
a
about
priority,
this game,
and the more we include,
this
the
is
more
all
chance there is that a player misses
physics on
something
there,
important because
whatever
they're
it is.
distracted or
Look at this.
confused by
Oh,
something
it's
less
wonderful.
important.
I'm so sorry for messing up
So
all
over
your
the
notes,
next
but
two
you won't need
levels,
it from here.
we'll use commentary notes to point out some of the specific
Felt your
places
eraser. Look
where
at
we
that.
grappled with conveying information to the player. In between these nodes, you'll likely be able to spot many other examples for players to find, if they're interested in paying closer attention and understanding more.
Greenhouse. Yeah, I'm not sure if that whole developer's commentary thing is going to stick around, you know? But we'll see.
One of the pieces of important information we struggled to convey was exactly when Half-Life Alyx is set within the series
that wasn't on the
timeline.
outside.
Whilst we tried to reflect it carefully in many of the world details, it was never 100% successful during playtests. Eventually, we decided it was too important to be left to the players to figure out, and so we put it in our opening text crawl. The Citadel's incomplete state did provide us with an early opportunity to reinforce the timeline visually. Half-Life Alyx takes place 5 years before the events of Half-Life 2, in which the towering Citadel represents the Combine seat of power. As we see here, however, early Combine infrastructure is a cluttered mess of cables and unusual structures sprawled all over the city,
It totally
surrounding the
is too.
Citadel's
Look at those.
construction, and served as a useful indicator of the time frame. We went on
Becomes
to
much more
reinforce
neat
this
later on.
impression in other places throughout the following level. Combine architecture tends to be abstract in scale and form, so we included some familiar visual cliches of human construction. The large external scaffolds, some distinction of floor levels, rows of small lights, and the tidying of the silhouette into more structured vertical elements. Try and strike a balance between capturing the alien nature of the Citadel whilst grounding its construction in enough familiarity to better understand its size and state. Large, sweeping vistas such as this one proved an interesting challenge in virtual reality. Their distance from the viewer means they don't benefit from stereoscopic vision the way that small close-up objects do. Because of this, the small light jets on the balcony often draw the attention of the players before they've even noticed the imposing structure in the distance. If we moved the Citadel too close, it felt absurdly huge and difficult to take in. Yet placed alone on the horizon, it felt two-dimensional and flat. We found the solution in filling the space between the viewer and the distant structure with many scale references. The city itself, huge supply cables leading towards the vanishing point, large repeated Combine buildings, heavy pollution fog, careful lighting and all the animated elements, especially
yeah,
the
I
helicopter
can see
whose sound
those.
begins in the fade-in.
Like, see
All
the
these
fog
were
layer that's
carefully
in
composed to help
between
draw
those
the
and
attention of the player to the Citadel first,
yeah, like the
before
sight
letting their
lines
attention
of
wander
the
to take
cables
in the
and
details
everything.
of the city, and settle ultimately on the inviting items here on the balcony.
Hey there, how you doing? Okay, honestly, the developer's commentary might say these are quite delightful.
In these first areas of the game, we grappled a lot with the density and prioritization of the information we were conveying to the player. Playtesting showed us that players in VR were easily distracted, often due to better peripheral vision, such that they'd focus on one scene element while losing track of others. This was exacerbated in these first rooms because players were acclimatizing to being in VR, often for the first time. In addition, different players
Yes,
progressed at
first
different
time,
speeds.
for
We saw
sure.
some players spend 30 seconds on the opening balcony and others 30 minutes. As a result, we did a lot of iteration over the set of opening areas, each time changing what information we tried to convey and where. Initially, the video call from Eli took place in the later refuge room with a snorkeling
Spoilers.
camcorder, but players were often too engrossed in interacting with all of the detail in that room to pay attention to the conversation between Eli and Russell. We moved the video call out to the starting balcony, but there it distracted from the establishing shot of City 17 and the Citadel. It also came at a time when players were still figuring out core game elements like movement and hand interaction with the world. That collision made simple things hard, like when to show the player a movement tooltip if they immediately started the video call. Eventually, we settled on inserting the greenhouse between the starting balcony and the refuge, which
Well, I
allowed
like
us to
this
move the call
greenhouse.
to an area with
It's
a
quite
slightly
lovely.
obscured vista and fewer interactable objects. This avoided the distraction problems and ensured players were past the initial gameplay moments of figuring out their hardware and movement setup. It also had the bonus of allowing us to add further detail to the opening balcony and Alyx's refuge without fear of creating distractions from the video call.
Okay, I can dig it. I honestly do really like this greenhouse. Look at those creeping vines and everything. It's just a nice touch. Can I? No, I can't draw on that. Can I draw on that? Nope. Is it just a single vine? Okay. Guess I'll get to the video call then. Where'd the other ones go? I very clearly hit. Oh. Hush. You saw nothing. Let me just finish this up real quick. No, you're getting distracted. I don't know what you're talking about. Just gotta give it a little bit of depth here, you know? See, this is much better than real life. I don't actually get it on my finger. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Alyx!
Hello!
How's it looking up there?
It's good, Dad. Metrocop movement is normal. Same for the Combine patrols. How's it going in the stockyard?
One Combine mini reactor from a shipment of 4,000. They're never going to miss it. Here, see for yourself.
Not only that, someone's hacked into the Combine
Hello.
construction network.
Don't get greedy, guys. We're not made of time here.
1 minute and I'm out, guaranteed.
Look at the way that it
Also,
changes
it's
color
like
with the
Combine
background.
was a
Ah,
thousand
it's so
quarantine
good.
zone. That place has been deserted for years.
That is odd. Well,
What is...
we'll look into it when we get back.
What is this?
Be back at the safe house, baby. We'll be there soon.
It looks like...
What is it, Russell?
What'd you... Terrific.
But look at this too. Click. These things are so cool. I love that you can... They just populated this world with so many fun little details like this. Gotta not waste energy, you know? No more coffee? Okay. Well, goodbye, greenhouse. It was nice knowing you. That's how one opens doors, right? Can I... Yes, I can close it again. Good. Always close your doors in a zombie apocalypse. I guess I should actually do that. Otherwise the game will just keep reminding me that. Look at him up there. Oh, that was great.
Beyond conveying critical information about the state of the world, the first 2 levels of Half-Life Alyx also needed to demonstrate some of VR's strengths. Conveying a sense of scale is something VR does much better than flat screens.
True.
And our early
facts.
playtests showed us that nothing quite sold
What are you
that
doing,
scale
baby?
more than seeing
Look
a
at
Strider
him.
up close. In addition to the visuals, to fully illustrate the scale of a Strider at close range, we needed to do a lot of work on its audio treatment. Players had strong expectations about feeling the weight, power, and presence of the
Yeah, you want
Strider
some
through
food,
its
baby?
movements,
Here you go.
particularly as it stepped on the balcony the player was occupying. In order to convey this power through sound, we layered multiple sound effects, allowing us to address ranges in the audio frequency spectrum and the temporal nature of those elements separately. We then combined those elements in the Source 2 audio engine to control them as one sound.
Oh, that Source 2 engine. One of the best things to come from this, too, is all the modding. Like, Counter-Strike at all came from the original Source engine. Just people messing around with it. Oh, this is upside down, but this is an Easter egg, too. Look at this. It's a dog. And then, you know. But then there's also, if you've played The Lab, another VR game in the Valve universe, this one actually shows up in it as just like a dog that you can mess around with. Okay, there's nothing really interesting here except this thing. Look at that. It actually shows up correctly on each of the screens. Close it? Nope. No, I cannot. Okay, so I'll just aim it properly so it'll stay that way while I'm gone. Maybe give you some food or something. There. Here. Now you just have to bump up against the edge of your glass and you'll be able to feed yourself while I'm gone.
This room, internally referred to as Alyx's Refuge, was initially the location where the Eli video call took place. However, once that video call was moved out to the balcony, this room was freed up to solve other problems. In the Half-Life series, we've always tried to ensure that there's generally enough narrative for all players to understand where they're going and why, but for players who slow down and pay
We're in
attention,
Russia,
there's more
right?
detail that can lead to a greater understanding. With the balcony being a place to get familiar with the game's inputs,
America's
the greenhouse
gone.
being where
Look
the
at
story
that.
kicks off, and the Strider there to surprise players with spectacle, we decided that the Refuge could be a quiet moment for players, where they could discover more narrative detail in the environment. At the same time, it could be a place where they can play around a bit more
Chinese
now that they're
Empire
acclimated to
versus
being in
China.
VR. Spending time in the Refuge is meant to bring players into Alyx's role in the Resistance and her place in the world. We wanted it to feel like a real stakeout spot, where Alyx had been cooped up for weeks or months while planning the heist, doing research on the Combine. The camcorder, snark, and whiteboards are all toys that respond to detailed interaction and
you a
reward deeper
snark?
investigation, giving
Oh my
curious
God,
players
you're
more
adorable.
information
Hey
about
there,
the world
Snark.
of City
How you
17
doing?
and what Alyx has been doing in it.
There you go. But yeah, like there's Hindustan here instead of India. And Persia, Arabia, things like that. It's kind of like a mix between old and new. And then like just regular like China, but then it's inside of the Chinese Empire here. Which never happened. So I guess this is obviously just an alternate universe sort of thing. But unknown about Africa, about Russia, and about Australia. North America is just completely wiped out. I assume that's what, like that was a casualty of the 7-minute war when the Combine invaded, but I'm not really 100% on the lore of all this, so don't hold me to anything. Here you go, sweetie. One more food. Okay, in just a second. That's actually working? That's actually working. Good, good. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, let's move on with this. Yes. Ugh, elevators. Gotta love them. Just try not to touch anything. Oop. Well, I don't have any weapons, so I don't think they expect me to defend myself.
Alyx!
Hello.
Alyx, are we good?
Yep, they got the reactor. Easy peasy. I'm headed back to the safe house right now to meet Dad. Go.
Stay safe.
Yeah, Combine.
Two critical pieces of information that we needed players to understand were simple to state, but not so easy to convey. That players were playing as Alyx Vance, not the Gordon Freeman they've played in all prior Half-Life games, and that Alyx is going to speak,
Oh good, this
unlike
is going
Gordon.
quickly.
These probably seem
skipping
obvious
the-
to you now, but until we focused on them, it wasn't obvious to playtesters. Ensuring that everyone realized they were playing as Alyx
Oh,
was
Pigeon!
something we decided to hit
Sorry,
with the
Pigeon.
biggest hammer we could, and named the product after her. But even with that, we were very careful in Eli's video
Okay,
call
yeah.
to ensure it's
This one is-
reinforced.
Excuse me, let me. Cool. Right? Go with the music, because I like the
When we
music
started
here.
Half-Life Alyx, we were very curious to find out how VR would impact our music design. The Half-Life series has always used music sparingly, often leaving the ambient sounds of the world to provide the audio background. But it is a
Oh,
tool
that's
we like to
nasty.
use to
Look at
highlight
those
moments
bugs.
where the world state has changed in some important way. In this case, that something's riled up the Combine. In our early playtests of this scene, without music, but with many of the other visual and audio elements represented, we found some players didn't
Percent.
It's rude to have on headphones.
Keep your head down and be smart.
I think the world scale's a bit off, actually. I'm looking up at her, unless she's supposed to be extremely tall. Music and Allie. For the last one,
The
let's
remainder
fix.
of this level is designed to continue informing the player about the world they're in, and to support the increase in the Combine's alertness. We also wanted detail to make
Oh,
the city feel
oops.
alive,
I
something
can
that
grab the
becomes
shards
much
of the
harder
broken
later
glass.
on, once
Very
the player
nice.
has a weapon. This was tricky to design due to the challenge we're often faced with, the friction between narrative state and gameplay state.
Yup.
Here, the narrative implies that Alyx should be making her way back to Eli as quickly and quietly as possible. But gameplay-wise, we're at the start of the game, and players are still
didn't believe
testing
it
the
actually
limits
worked.
of everything they can see and touch.
I feel
Unsurprisingly,
personally
playtesting
slighted by
showed
that.
us that some players would dedicate themselves to following the narrative and quickly move through the area, while others would completely ignore the narrative and explore every nook and cranny. While it's tempting to simply remove all distractions in an attempt to unify all players towards following the narrative, it would send the wrong signal about the density of our world and how the game intends to reward players for exploring it. So we spent months refining this section, adding, changing, and removing elements. We tried to find the right level of narrative tension,
Trying to
where
see what
players
this is,
felt
but I
like
don't
they
think it
should
actually
be
lists
moving along,
anything.
but not so quickly that they can't stop to tinker with something. We put in enough interactive objects and narrative moments where players were always
That is
rewarded
not
for
how that
looking
should
around.
work.
But we designed all those distractions to end quickly, so we could encourage players to continue moving along.
Honestly, I'm just waiting until they finish talking with that. I wouldn't be messing around with pill bottles and cones if it wasn't for that. Okay, maybe the cones. Definitely the cones. But not the pill bottle. Hi. Can I come? No? Alright, wow, I like how you removed the handle entirely. Guess I'm going this way. Hey, Burbs. Joke's on you, now this is mine. Grab ladder to climb up. Do I just grab? Up. Okay, fine. You're making me get rid of my food. Aw, crap. What if they see me? Nah, I'm way too small for them to see. I don't know what they're talking about. But yeah, this one especially is probably going to be a bit slower with the entrance. Well, it has been a bit slower with the beginning. once we actually get into it, into the narrative and everything, it should be good. Something just fell down the stairs. Alright.
Whoa, wait, I just live here.
Probably anti-citizen. Keep those hands up.
Wait, don't shoot.
Bing, bing, bing. Oh, hey! Give me that. Give me a gun.
Steal anything. What did you see? No one! I didn't see anyone!
Dad! Hey, wait, no!
Entanglement.
Where are you taking me? Where's my father? Hello? Damn it, where's my father?
Tell her to stop moving around back there.
I'm gonna do what I want. You can't stop me for shit. You're gonna have to shoot me. Looks like you can't. Great. Oh, that's not how it's supposed to go.
In order to limit the possibility of motion sickness that could be induced by moving the player in a vehicle, we initially wrote this scene to have Alyx wake up after the van had already crashed. Players found this underwhelming, however, since the game seemed to be needlessly holding back an exciting moment that they could have experienced for themselves. Addressing this meant that we had to tackle the technical problem of moving the player comfortably in a vehicle. In this van, and in the train at the end of the map, you'll notice that the outside world is only visible through small windows. These outside views are necessary to provide motion parallax, but the small window size ensures that the player's field of view is always dominated by the vehicle interior, which is naturally in the player's own frame of reference.
Legs are
This
not
greatly
supposed to
reduces the
bend that
occurrence of
way.
motion sickness. Aside from the parallax of the outside world, we use animated lighting and careful sound design to produce the effect of riding in a vehicle.
Animated lighting. Oh, hi.
You have been in an accident. Take the handset.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Oh, cool. This little camera. Hi. And a headset here. Interesting.
Alyx, you there? You've got to get moving.
Russell? I've been in an accident.
I know! I caused it, so technically not an accident. You've got to get moving.
Wait, where's Dad?
Oh yeah,
He's
people
fine.
are there.
Follow the drone.
Oh. I probably shouldn't stick my hand in that.
So, Dad's
Wow.
okay, right?
Yeah, well, no. To be honest, he's in huge trouble.
But...
They've still got him. He was in a separate transport.
And you saved me?
Well, yes. I had no way of knowing who was in which van, so... Yes, the result was that I saved you.
Do we know where they're taking him?
Criminal holding. And then, when they realize he's Eli Vance, to Nova Prospect. But I'm already working on a plan to get him back. You're close to my lab. Keep following the drone. We'll figure out what to do.
Yeah, these are some
Where
of
the
those
last
things where I
map
might
was focused on conveying a lot of information about the world state to the player, this map is where we need to start the player's larger quest. That means the player must leave this map with an understanding of what's happened to Eli, and what they're going to do about it. The player also needs to meet Russell, so they have a face behind all the radio dialogue throughout the game.
Complex. Look at this, they didn't need to do the
Finally, we need the player
pedals
to
and
collect
then
the
the
gravity
wheel
gloves
and
and
the
the
gears.
pistol and learn how to use them both. This is a daunting list. From experience, we know that if we cram all that into a single scene, players won't be able to remember more than a couple highlights. So this map's purpose is essentially narrative pacing. We need to draw apart the required events, separating them with enough time and space that players could ingest and remember them. At the same time, we're a little under the gun. Playtesting showed us that by now, some players have been playing for 30 minutes, and they're wondering when they're going to see some enemies.
Pacing too? Yeah, in the interest of pacing, I'm gonna ignore it.
Russell, What did you guys find back there?
Well, that's the crazy thing. I don't know. Just blurry pictures of a
Oh, it's like
building.
back for me,
The
not
Citadel?
forward.
No, something else.
Interesting.
And whatever it is, they're gonna kill anybody who saw it. And anybody who knows anybody who saw it. Which means us and your dad.
Russell, just hang on. I'm almost there.
Keys are useful. Okay. Tools are useful. Shush. I broke it. Oh, I'm so selfish. Pacing 3? Whatever. Yeah. You know what? Let's hear them.
In addition to delivering narrative at a consumable pace, this map needed to continue communicating the state of the world outside of the quarantine zone. We also wanted players to understand when Half-Life Alyx takes place in the larger Half-Life timeline, and to see for themselves the massive scale of the Citadel under construction. The power of the Combine is embodied in their indifference towards humanity. They've conquered Earth with little effort and are now plundering it for their own ends. They put a modicum of effort into their propaganda, but it's ultimately uncaring. Later in Half-Life 2, we see Breen's attempts to talk to humanity with more seriousness, but it's unclear whether that directive comes from the Combine or if it's just Breen's attempts to be useful to them. Meanwhile, the Combine construction is brutally efficient. The Citadel's pervasive feeder cables make no attempt to fit into the lives of the residents as the Combine drains the city of its power. Within this playground, a nostalgic nod to Half-Life 2, this enormous cable has been run right through the mural on the wall, demonstrating the Combine's total lack of interest in the history behind the city.
Yo. Hello. Whoa, hi.
Alex,
Oh yeah, it's like biological as well as mechanical.
Can you see my drone? Is it okay?
Sure. Yeah, I'll be there in a minute.
All these insanely detailed little parts like this grabber. You didn't have to have what is actually a mechanically accurate grabber. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Whatever. But like, this thing, you pull back there, that pulls that lever back, which stupid thing. To mantle, push and hold while moving, whatever. But this thing up to be the little grabby arm. And then this just twists it up and down. Whatever. Mantling, haha. No, I don't want to go out. Well, fine. How about I?
Alex, great. Okay, let's... Wait, my drone's okay, right?
Nope, it exploded. I'm fine, by the way.
Right, good. Well, that's the main.
Oh, this
Russell.
is great.
They've
I
got
love
Dad.
Russell.
I know. This is bad. They're gonna find out what he knows, and then... Yeah, they're gonna kill him.
Oh, God.
But, the good news is, we've got something they don't.
Which is?
My plan to get him back.
Great. Let's hear it.
Now, pretty soon they're gonna realize that your dad is not gonna talk. And when that happens, he's off to have his brain sucked out.
Russell.
Potentially. Maybe not, though. I mean, they could just drill into his... Oh, yeah, still your dad. Right, well, what they will do is take him by train from here. This is Eli to Nova Prospect.
And if he gets on that train, that's it, right?
Not necessarily. Grab something that represents us.
Something that represents us out of this whole thing. Ooh, more markers. Really useful something electronic lightweight levitating gravity gloves. Gravity! Oh, you're the best, Russell. I love you.
Anything will do.
They're gravity gloves. You know what? I'm gonna do this little tea in teacup. Excuse me. You know what? Yeah. Has to have the spoon in there. You know what? Doesn't need the spoon. Alright.
Yeah, just grab anything.
Anything at all.
Okay, that's you.
I thought you said us.
Well, one of us, me, will have to stay here for this plan to work.
All right, fair enough.
Oh.
Just outside, there's a second train that also leads out of City 17 through the quarantine zone.
Okay.
Both trains intersect here at Fairview Junction.
Oh,
You
I should
take
be
your
paying
train,
attention to this
get
rather
there
than
before
looking at
this
the video
train,
screen
and
back
hack
there.
into the controls. That'll let me take over the system. Train comes to a halt, you deal with the Combine situation, and we get your dad back.
Sounds good. Where's the train I'm taking?
Out the back, through the yard. It's decommissioned, but I think I can hack into its controls. Oh, and get yourself a pair of Russells on the way out.
Russells?
The gloves, Alyx. You know, the gravity gloves. I have a few sets through there.
Gravity.
Calibrate them out by the shed.
Gravity.
We can do this, Alyx. You got that, didn't you, that I said we could do it? Because we're gonna do it.
Yeah, we are.
I'm with you every step of the way.
Connected to headset drone displaying mic audio input 1. Connecting and then just a waveform. Come on, it's right there. Oh, I was really looking forward to doing the whole, infinity mirror thing and looking at that, but no, you can see the thing. So let's see. If I just go this far, that should be entirely upside down, right? Huh, what if I go like this? Bendable. Okay. Anyway, character choreography.
Russell's laboratory is the first time the player is in the same room as another character, and it highlights one of the main challenges we face when designing choreographed scenes in VR, keeping the player and characters out of each other's space. In previous Half-Life games, we could always forcefully move the player if we really needed them out of the way. We made several attempts at finding a similar solution in VR, but found that it often made players feel deeply uncomfortable or disoriented. So instead, we designed these spaces to allow for a natural separation between the player and our characters. Where natural separators couldn't exist, we had to restrict players from moving into the character's space, removing that limitation as soon as the character had moved out of the way. Another challenge was balancing how often characters respond to player actions while delivering important narrative information. In early experiments, we allowed characters to stop mid-sentence, which allowed them to respond immediately to the player, and then continue on with their dialogue. While technically straightforward, this was incredibly difficult to execute in animation and dialogue without feeling unnatural.
God, yeah.
The combination of custom reactions necessary to cover the range of possible player interaction and the resulting return to narrative dialogue quickly multiplied out of control. Eventually, we settled on a solution where we allowed only a minimum of interactions during the important narrative delivery sections, and a wider range of responses to more complex reactions after the scene has completed. In the case of Russell, we layer subtle head facing and natural eye contact on top of his performance while he is talking with Alyx. Then, after the scene, when he is typing at the computer, he will respond to players trying to touch him or objects being thrown around.
Really? Should I take this? Oh. What if I type instead of you? Huh? Type to type, type to type to type, type to type. Oh, you're just repeating that action now? Oh, well. What if I'm over here and... Nope, it's exactly the same thing no matter what. Alright.
Right from our earliest experiments in VR, we learned that players expect a high level of audio fidelity, even from minute interactions, particularly when the sounds are meant to correspond to clearly observable visuals. For instance, in one of our prior games, it may have been acceptable to use a generic sequence of computer key sounds when Russell was typing. In VR, however, We know that a player can observe the animations very closely, and even put their head right next to Russell's keyboard if they choose. In this case, players would notice a lack of one-to-one correspondence between the key press animation and sound. For Half-Life Alyx, we authored a set of individual key press sounds to be driven by animation. For example, as Russell's fingers animate to press a key, one of these key press sounds is played, resulting in precise synchronization of the animation and sound.
Russell's computer. Okay, well, we're done with that. Let's go grab our Russells. One of the best looting systems I've ever... Okay. Putting my hands in strange mechanical orifices. More at 11. These are literally microwaves. Oh, they just use the cyclotrons for it. Oh, yep, you can see my resin, my health, and everything. Sweet. Alright, we're getting into it. Let's do this. How long have I been? 42 minutes? Alright,
Alright,
yeah,
you know
good.
how this goes. There should be a bunch of junk down there. Aim at something with your hand open. Yep, you're tethered. Now close your hand. Just like that. Try again. Just like that. Yep. One more time. Boom. Yep. Perfect.
Easily my
We're done.
favorite method
wait.
of looting
I almost
in
forgot.
any game
Alyx,
in
up
VR
here.
so far.
You're gonna need a gun. Don't worry, it's unloaded.
You're unloaded.
It's unloaded now. Oh, almost forgot. Guns need ammo. Here you go. Right, heading back to the courtroom.
Alright. Then yeah, there's this button here, which I press, and then depending on which way I go, with different weapons when I get them, it changes to the different things. So that's nice, I don't have to like reach into anywhere, do any inventory management or anything. Can I not wear it when I have a hat on?
One frustration players may encounter in VR is having to physically bend down or reach out for objects in the virtual world, especially if they have limited real-world space. A common solution for this is to provide a way to bring objects to the player instead of forcing the player to go to them. We knew this would be an important feature in Half-Life Alyx, with its sprawling levels and players' desire to explore every corner of the world. We didn't want this mechanic to feel too gamey or magical, so we decided to integrate it into the fiction of the game by making it a feature of the gravity gloves, which are a natural precursor to the gravity gun of Half-Life 2.
Damn right it is.
This allowed us to present the mechanic as a real physical action that's enabled by a piece of in-fiction technology. To emphasize the physicality that is unique to the medium of VR, we used a physical gesture to activate the pull instead of a button press, and then required the player to actually catch the object instead of automatically attaching it to the hand. This made the mechanic feel more natural and rooted in the fiction of the game's universe, while allowing the player to feel powerful and accomplished.
Yeah, if I don't grab it, it just bounces right off. Oh, okay, second one, and we're good.
When a player pulls an object with the gravity gloves, we use the game's physics engine to apply a launch force to that object with a trajectory that is partially influenced by the direction of the player's pull gesture.
Does she sound like she's
launch velocity to result in a
like
standard
a computer-generated
flight time
voice
from
to you, or is that just
so the
me?
player can develop a rhythm that eventually becomes automatic. We want the object to arrive at the hand as reliably as possible, so after the initial launch, we continually apply small impulse forces along the trajectory, represented by the white arrows. Those impulses help counter gravity and compensate collisions with obstacles along the way,
so cool.
while continuously steering the object with the hand, which is itself a moving target. The generous catch range and subtle haptic feedback when the object enters that range virtually guarantees that it will end up in the player's hand every time, even if their attention is focused elsewhere. One other benefit of implementing this with physics is that we didn't need to do custom handling for an object's size, mass, or inertia, and it automatically compensated for the non-standard gravity that players encounter inside the vault at the end of the game.
That is so cool. honestly, if there's even a second thing like that in this game, this will all have been worth it.
Oh, you took care of that lock then. Good. Great. Did have the key for it.
Yeah, well, why didn't you unlock it for me?
That's on me.
Yeah, it is. Hey, Russell. Russell, get down here. Russell. Hey, Russell. Okay, I'm done. What? Store ammo in backpack by releasing over your shoulder. Cool. Mantle, right.
Alright, here we go. Next stop, Fairview Junction.
Thanks, Russell.
And good luck, Alyx. Goodbye. Obviously, just to let you know, I am still here, though.
I know.